Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to go my review of AEW's Dynamite. Starting on the night, we got Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm having a face-to-face, pretty much talking about their matchup at All In. Moné grabs a microphone. She mocks Toni Storm. Moné then grabs champagne, as well as Toni Storm. They make a toast. Moné makes a toast to herself. Storm says that she is not like the others. Toni then mocks Moné. Toni asks Moné what is it that she's afraid of. Moné says that she will always be better than Toni Storm. Moné says that she made the devil her bitch. Moné says that she is the alpha and omega of professional wrestling. Toni Storm then says Moné deserves all the titles except hers. And then Toni tells Mercedes Moné to eat shit. And then Toni Storm goes to attack Mercedes Moné, but Moné quickly gets out of the ring. A couple things I want to talk about with you guys with this one, man. Number one, the build for this matchup, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say it's been the greatest. It hasn't. It's been bits and pieces. I will say this, as far as last night, the back and forth banter, the promo that was between Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm, I think Toni Storm absolutely demolished Mercedes Moné in this back and forth promo. I mean, it was so bad to a point where Moné even said that All In was going to be on Sunday instead of Saturday, when we all know that Sunday this weekend is Evolution 2, the all-women's WWE pay-per-view. So it looks like Mercedes Moné has her mindset on Evolution 2. The other thing I'm going to talk about, and I will talk more about this towards the end of the show, but there was a lot of stuff that was going on even in the media call for All In, specifically about Mercedes Moné. And there was comments that were made specifically about Moné stating the fact that she does not have full creative control within AEW. I'm going to tell you guys right now, that is complete and utter bullshit. Mercedes Moné has full-on creative control. The distinction of people saying that she has creative input compared to creative control is absolutely insane. And you know who those people are. I'm not going to mention who they are, but they know exactly who they are. They know exactly who I'm talking about. Moné absolutely and utterly has full-on creative control within AEW, and she always has since she's been with this company. I mean, you've had comments from Deonna Purrazzo. You had comments just from Mercedes Moné herself, talking about what she's done in AEW and the fact that she has her own specific locker room. She doesn't share the locker room with the other women on the female roster. She is in an island all by herself in AEW, and that's the way she wants it. She has full creative control. She has her own creative team behind Mercedes Moné, with it being headlined by Jennifer Pepperman. They brought her in to pretty much be the vocal point of her creative control for Mercedes Moné. Moné gives Jennifer Pepperman ideas for her creative, and then Jennifer Pepperman relays those ideas to Tony Khan, and Tony Khan, rather than saying no, is always and continuously keep telling her yes, yes, yes. I mean, it's almost laughable to a point where people say she doesn't have creative control, where she makes, there was an announcement that she was dating the Beast Mortos, and before that she even made this announcement about dating the Beast Mortos, we hardly even seen this guy on AEW television or barely even wrestling on TV. But then we make this announcement or hear this announcement that they are dating. Now we see the Beast Mortos main eventing in a match for CMLL for Grand Slam, which he hasn't wrestled for them for over 14 years. But somehow he's in the main event. Now we see him consistently on Dynamite, and I believe he's either going to be in the main event or have a high-profile matchup against Mystico at Collision this week leading up to All In. So clearly there's something going on with that situation, because my distinction from that is, okay, where are we seeing Dralistico? Where is Roosh? All these guys, including the Beast Mortos, are all a part of the stable known as LFI, but we have not seen Roosh, and we have not seen Dralistico. So clearly something's going on there. So for the people out there that are saying that she does not have full creative control, that is complete bullshit. Mercedes Moné is picking her opponents. She's burying everybody that she's facing. And I told you guys this, and I will continuously keep saying this, is that she is in business for herself. She does not give a shit about AEW. She does not give a shit about the women's roster on AEW. She is in business for herself. And the reason why that is because I'm telling you guys right now, Mercedes Moné is trying to do everything that she can in her power within AEW to raise her stock. So when her contract comes up with AEW, she's either going to get offered more money from Tony Khan, and he's willing to pay her whatever the hell she wants, or she's using this as leverage to go back to WWE and have those contract talks with, Nick Khan and Triple H as far as having more money and a decent contract extension with WWE so she can retire as Sasha Banks. That's pretty much what's going on here. Do I see Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné being a lifer for AEW? No, I do not. I just don't. And the problem is with this matchup alone with her and Toni Storm, this can go really good or extremely bad. And what I'm saying that by that is that let's say Moné does walk in all in, walk out AEW Women's Champion. That means that Mercedes Moné holds both the AEW Women's Championship and the TBS title, the only two titles right now for the entire women's roster in AEW. That's all being held by one woman that refuses to lose. That's a problem. That's a huge problem, and that can back themselves up in the corner. And a lot of people, honestly, that if I was, a woman wrestling for AEW, I wouldn't be really, all for wrestling Mercedes Moné because you feel like you're going to go in there and automatically take the L. She's not putting anybody over. She's just not. She's not putting anybody over. She's not building up the younger talent and the younger stars on this roster. She's not. And I honestly, genuinely believe this goes back to the Camille situation where Camille was pretty much Moné's bodyguard, and somehow, somewhere along the line, Camille just suddenly disappears. Yes, I understand she's going to, shooting a TV show with American Gladiators, just like she is with Wardlow and Rick Boogs or whatever the hell his name is from WWE. They're all shooting the reboot, if you will, of American Gladiator. So I know clearly she's doing a TV show, and that's why she's off AEW television. But I think it comes down to a lot more than that. I think Mercedes Moné has a little bit to do with the fact that relationship between her and Camille did not pan out. She did not want Camille as her so-on-so bodyguard around her during her AEW tenure, which that tenure with her and Camille did not last very long. So that's what pissed me off with the media call, was the fact that you have those certain podcasters out there, and they know exactly who the hell they are, that are pretty much rubbing shoulders and trying to kiss Tony Khan's ass and not actually looking at the actual situation of what's going on. And saying that Mercedes Moné only has creative input within her character and what she does in AEW. That's bullshit. And to be honest with you, for those people out, and I'm going to say this, for those people out there that are doing that shit, to me, I don't know how you sleep at night, man. I really don't. I really don't. Rather than being genuinely who you are and being honest with yourself and being honest with your fan base, you'd rather rub shoulders with these guys just to get in the good graces of Tony Khan or AEW or WWE, rather than actually stating the facts that people have been saying now for the past few months to a year. But you rather just completely just turn a blind eye to that and be like, yeah, you know what, we're just going to go with what Tony Khan said. No, it's bullshit. The inmates are running the asylum. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that every single superstar that wrestles for AEW has full-on creative control. I'm not saying that. But are there wrestlers that are within AEW's umbrella that have full creative control? Absolutely. You look at someone like Mercedes Moné. You look at someone like Adam Copeland. You look at someone like Christian Cage. You look at someone like Chris Jericho, where people that were watching Jericho, including myself, were begging for him to get the hell off TV and begging for this guy to retire because we were sick and tired of this bullshit learning tree that he was just shoving down everybody's throat. Everybody was tired of it. And now, eventually, he took some time off. Great. I don't think anybody really truly misses Jericho back on AEW television. The guy needs to retire. It's the same thing with the Jon Moxley situation when people are like, oh, well, he doesn't have full creative control on that. That's complete and utter bullshit, too. People have been at the front gates of AEW yelling from the rooftops saying that they're done with this Death Rider shit. It's ultimately the death of AEW, and then you still say, oh, well, Tony Khan has a lot to play in this. He might have a small part, but you don't think Jon Moxley is giving the ideas to Tony Khan? That this is full-on Jon Moxley's idea? Moxley gave out mission statements throughout this entire ordeal saying, oh, he wants to build up the younger talent and all this other shit and revamp AEW. No, you're going in there squashing the younger talent and putting yourself over, making yourself look like an asshole. And then you're holding pretty much AEW hostage. We haven't even seen the fucking AEW World Championship since last October at WrestleDream when Moxley had beat Bryan Danielson. That title, for all we like I said, it could be dust for all we know. All we do know is that the fact that Marina Shafir is walking around with a briefcase, which seemingly might have the AEW World title in it, we don't even know. Which is also hurting AEW not showcasing this belt or defending this title week in and week out, or at least every other pay-per-view. Or how about every other, at least random Dynamite, episodes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it hurts AEW. And nobody wants to say, okay, well, it's not, they don't have full creative control. That's complete and utter bullshit. But I digress. We'll talk more about that towards the end of the show. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of the night. It's Bandito teaming up with Brody King to take on Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. I thought this was a really good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Brody King and Bandito keeping the pace of the match. Takeshita and Bandito then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Bandito hitting a Hurricane Rana on Takeshita, followed by Bandito hitting a frog splash off the top rope for a near fall. Bandito then hits a moonsault to the outside. Takeshita then hits a Raging Fire in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. Hats off to Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Ricochet taking on Blake Christian. This is pretty much an impromptu matchup. The match itself was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Ricochet and Christian, with Ricochet keeping the pace of the match. The Gates of Agony are here. They're pretty much staring down Blake Christian. This allowed Ricochet to try to capitalize on this, but Blake hits a springboard 450 for a near fall. Gates of Agony then attack Blake Christian ringside, with the referee being distracted. This allowed Ricochet to hit a vertigo on Blake Christian, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Ricochet. And it looks like Ricochet is now teaming up or working with the Gates of Agony. Moving on from that, we have a Talkie Talk segment between MJF and Mark Briscoe. MJF then mocks the Talkie Talk segment, pretty much mocks Mark Briscoe as well. Mark says that MJF needs a country ass whooping. The crowd erupts after that. Mark says that he is proud of who he is and what he's become. Mark talks about his own riches, his family, his friends. And Mark then tells MJF that he is soulless and he's bankrupt. MJF says that Jay Briscoe is a legend. He praises Jay Briscoe, but MJF also says that he pities Jay because he has to look down on Mark being a joke. This got the crowd irate. Mark then attacks MJF. Hurt Syndicate are here. Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey then attack the Hurt Syndicate, but the Patriarchy come out and attack the Hurt Syndicate. Some interesting stuff there between MJF and Mark Briscoe. Moving on from that, we got a Fatal 4-Way matchup for the number 2 spot in the Women's Casino Gauntlet match that takes place at All In. It is Megan Bayne taking on Thekla versus Queen Aminata and Ty Mello. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup with everybody involved, with Megan Bayne keeping the pace of the match. Thekla hits a spear for a near fall. Megan Bayne, though, hits a power bomb in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and moving on and getting the number 2 spot in the Women's Casino Gauntlet match is Megan Bayne. After the match, you can see Megan Bayne and Chris Statler having pretty much a stare-off, if you will, leading up to their match at All In. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. Samoa Joe's taking on Wheeler Yuta. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Joe and Yuta, with Joe keeping the pace of the match. Joe quickly applies a submission hold on Wheeler Yuta. The referee sounds with a bell, and your winner of the match is Samoa Joe. After that, Samoa Joe then gets up, but he's quickly attacked by Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd attacks Samoa Joe, but the Ops are here to save Samoa Joe. So it looks like Gabe Kidd has some unfinished business with the Ops. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's the main event of AEW's Dynamite. It is a tag team matchup. It is the Ops and Will Ospreay and Adam Page take on the Death Riders and the Young Bucks. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Ops, Ospreay, and Page keeping the pace of the match. Ospreay hits a Sky Twister for a near fall, followed by Page hitting a moonsault to the outside. Page then gets in the ring, hits a fall-away slam in the middle of the ring. Hobbs and Claudio both exchange in the middle of the ring. Moxley and Claudio then put Hobbs through a table on the outside. Moxley then applies a chokehold in the middle of the ring, and your winners of the match are the Death Riders and the Young Bucks. After the match, though, you can see that the Young Bucks and the Death Riders attack Adam Page. They go to put a bag on Adam Page's head, but they're interrupted by Swerve. Swerve is shown on the Titantron, standing in pretty much a backhoe, if you will. Swerve then smashes the Young Bucks limo. The Young Bucks get irate. They go out to the parking lot to try to find Swerve, but Swerve demolished the Young Bucks limo, pretty much hyping up their matchup taking place at this year's All In. Couple things I want to talk about, man, before I get the hell up out of here. Number one, like I said, I mentioned this earlier in the show about Mercedes Moné, and I do want to touch more bases on this. For those people out there, like I said earlier, those other podcasters, other content creators that are literally saying that she doesn't have full creative control, I don't know what to tell you guys, man. We all have love for professional wrestling, and we all understand professional wrestling the best way that we know how. But you can't sit here and be that naive to consider the fact that this woman does not have full creative control as far as what we've seen from her in AEW since she's been with AEW. I'm sorry. I don't know what you guys are watching or what you guys are seeing, but she has full creative control, bro. And I'm not sitting here saying that she's the only one, but she has full creative control, just like Adam Copeland, Christian, Jon Moxley. She has full creative control. And it's to a point now where it's almost laughable when people say that she doesn't, considering the fact that we've seen the Beast Mortos, which is, I guess her boyfriend, being booked a lot more. He's in high-profile matches. I mean, the fact that he was wrestling at a CMML show or Arena Mexico when he hasn't wrestled for them in over 14 years, and he just randomly pops up in the main event, it's very, very ironic. Then he has a high-profile matchup against Mystico coming up for this week's Collision. He's been on Dynamite as of late quite a bit. So, I mean, it's kind of like, come on, bro. I mean, you guys had to look at the narrative, man. You guys had to read between the lines and really understand what the hell's going on here. Tony Khan is not a boss. This is a guy that wants to rub shoulders with the superstars and wants to be their best friends. He wants to go out to the bar with them, share a couple White Claws, and shoot the shit with these people. He doesn't want to be a boss. He does, and my thing is, he doesn't want to be a boss, but Tony Khan also has this petty side to him. If you look at the situation with Britt Baker, I mean, come on, bro. I mean, you could go back and look at what he did with Ricky Starks, Ray Phoenix, Penta, when all these people wanted to be released. I mean, everybody and their grandmother felt so damn bad for Ray Phoenix that he was pretty much in AEW purgatory, begging to get the fuck out. They weren't even putting this guy on Dynamite, Collision, Ring of Honor. They weren't even selling this guy's merchandise anymore, so he was making no more extra money whatsoever. So Tony Khan, because he was pissed off with Ray Phoenix, just sat this guy home. And then eventually he said, what the hell with it, we're going to let him go. But he had to go through all that bullshit. Ricky Starks was the same deal. Penta was the same deal. I mean, it was ridiculous, man. And then we look at the Britt Baker situation. And, obviously egos prevail. I mean, obviously she has an ego as well as Tony Khan. But, come on, bro. I mean, you guys can't sit here and say that, oh, yeah, these people, it's all about them. It's not Tony Khan. No, Tony Khan plays a part in this shit, too. He does. I hate to tell you this, but he does. When they brought in Monet, I'm sure they're paying her a lot of money. A lot of money. They even brought in a team for Monet, for creative. I mean, they brought in Jennifer Pepperman from WWE. They brought her in to AEW to pretty much be the mouthpiece as far as creative is concerned for Monet. Monet pretty much bounces off ideas to Jennifer Pepperman, and then she gives her those ideas, and Jennifer Pepperman takes it to Tony Khan, and that's what we get. She has full creative control on everything she does, from her merchandise to her own locker room to her own segments, who she wants to wrestle. This woman has full creative control. So for those people out there saying that she doesn't, it's absolutely insane mindset to have, man. As far as Dynamite last night, I mean, do I think it was the best go-home show? No, I don't. The build towards Toni Storm and Monet, it's lackadaisical at best. I do think Toni Storm pretty much cooked Monet last night in that promo. I thought it was hilarious. I thought the fact that she got the days confused between Saturday and Sunday, I thought that was kind of funny. It looks like Monet had her mindset on Evolution, which takes place on Sunday, rather than, All In taking place on Saturday. So there's that. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I feel like Toni Storm kind of gave more in that promo last night than Mercedes Moné did. But again, a lot of people are also on the fence, man, because, it's hard to really bet against her in matches because she does not take the L. And to be honest with you, like I told you guys before, I don't know how this is going to benefit AEW at all. I just don't, because this is how I look at it. For me personally, I'm picking Toni Storm to win this match. I am. And it's not my personal take on Monet. I'm just looking at the rest of the women's the locker room, the roster, and to have Toni Storm AEW Women's Champion, it opens up a little bit more doors for other women on the roster, like Deonna Purrazzo, maybe Britt Baker returns, Thunder Rosa, Megan Bayne, Chris Statlander, the list goes on. Where if you look at Mercedes Moné winning, then she will hold the AEW Women's Championship as well as the TBS title. These are the only two titles for the women in AEW, and she will be holding them hostage. So to me, it's just, I don't think it benefits Monet a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, if you're looking at the fact that she's a belt collector, okay, great. But she's also holding these locker rooms around these different promotions on hostage. You know what I mean? Like, she's not defending these titles weekly or week in and week out or even every month. So it's kind of an L, to be honest with you. I think, for me personally, I would like to see Toni Storm win this match, retain the AEW Women's Championship, see Monet finally take the L. But that might be her first and only L for a while. I mean, it might be something where a lot of people are saying that Tony Khan wants Monet to break the TBS title record that was held by Jade Cargill, who currently wrestles for WWE. I think she's only got a couple more months left to beat it, I think around October. So, I mean, we're not far from that. We got about, 3 months left? So there could be a case where maybe Monet does lose to Toni Storm. She retains the TBS title. We have Monet break the record that was currently held by Jade, and Mercedes Monet becomes the longest reigning TBS champion in AEW history. I don't know, but to me, I don't think it benefits the women's locker room or the roster if Monet is holding both those titles. I just don't, man. I just think it's a huge L. I'm hoping for Toni Storm, to be honest with you, to beat Mercedes Monet. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know how it's going to play out, but it should be an interesting match for sure. And like I said, I mean, there was other matches on there. I feel like the matches that we had last night were just kind of thrown together as well. I mean, Ricochet and Blake Christian, not needed. Samoa Joe and Wheeler Yuta, not needed. To be honest with you, I just feel like it was kind of a middle of the road Dynamite episode last night as far as a go home show is concerned. With that being said, though, I think All In's going to be really good. I do. I think All In. I think a lot of people are overlooking this pay-per-view, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a really good card. I think there's going to be a lot of shit that happens at All In this year that's going to shock a lot of people. And there's also stories going throughout the entire show of All In. I mean, I told you guys before last week that, you got one of the biggest storylines of All In, and that's Swerve and Ospreay taking on the Young Bucks. And if the Bucks lose, they lose their EVP status. It goes back to the fans or Tony Khan. But if Ospreay and Swerve lose, both of them will not be able to challenge for the world title for up to 1 year. That changes a lot of shit. It changes the whole narrative for AEW when you got your two biggest names in the company, and if they lose, they will not be able to challenge for a world title for an entire year. That shakes up a lot of shit within AEW. And a lot of people were like, oh, well, Swerve might turn heel. They might lose that match against the Bucks. Swerve turns heel, and he cost Adam Page his world title match against Jon Moxley. That's a possibility. But then you also look in the fact that what Swerve did last night. Ospreay and Page were about to get their asses kicked by the Death Riders and the Young Bucks, and then we see Swerve on the Titantron, demolishing the Young Bucks limo, causing a distraction to allow Ospreay and Page to get the hell up out of there. So I don't know how this is going to pan out. I mean, am I going to say that Swerve could turn heel and cause Page the opportunity of being world champion? It's a possibility. I think that main event alone between Page and Moxley is going to be exactly like how WrestleMania 40 was, where you're going to have a lot of talent being a part of this match. It's going to get chaotic. It's going to get crazy. Somebody even said, do you think Bryan Danielson will even be a part of this main event? I can see it. I'm not sitting here saying that Bryan Danielson is going to return to AEW in a full-time deal, but I know for a fact that Bryan Danielson has taken a couple bumps as of late, and it looks like he might come back to wrestle for AEW once in a blue moon. So I think he's got that itch to come back and wrestle. I would not be opposed to seeing Bryan Danielson come out during this main event match, hit one of those Psycho knees, landing on Wheeler Yuta. Yuta's been pretty much, stealing that maneuver since Danielson has left. I can see Danielson coming out, hitting one of those running Psycho knees on Wheeler Yuta, helping Adam Page somehow get the win over Moxley. Yeah. You can see Ospreay coming out. You can see Swerve. Anybody else that was pretty much taken down by, the Death Riders throughout their duration, sure. To help Page, yeah. I mean, this could be something where, not to say that it's exactly like the match, but this could be something where if Page wins, you can see that entire locker room come out and pretty much have him on their, have Page on their shoulders and celebrate kind of how it was when, Bret Hart beat Yokozuna at WrestleMania 10. Well, you saw people like Lex and Randy Savage and Razor Ramon pretty much putting Bret Hart on their shoulders and celebrating the fact that Bret beat Yokozuna and got the world championship. You know what I mean? So this could be the same situation, same scenario. Also like WrestleMania 40, where, Cody and Roman were going at it for the Universal title, and you saw Solo, you saw John Cena, you saw The Rock, you saw all these different people, all these different names involved in this matchup, and it just made it for an incredible moment at WrestleMania 40. This could also be the same deal, where you can see like a Bryan Danielson, you can see Swerve, Ospreay get involved, or you can also see the possibility of Darby Allin. Darby Allin plays a huge wild card into this entire situation with Page and Moxley. And I know some people are like, oh, there's no way. No, bro, it does. Because the thing of it is that if you look at the narrative for All In, there's that Casino Gauntlet match that I can tell you right now is definitely taking place way before the main event between Moxley and Page, where the winner of that will basically have a contract or a briefcase, if you will, that will be able to cash in whenever that person pleases for an AEW World Championship opportunity. So what's to say that Darby Allin's not a part of that Casino Gauntlet match? He wins it, and then he has this contract or this briefcase looming where he can cash in whenever the hell he wants. And let's say that somehow Page loses against Moxley. Swerve turns his back on Page, allows Moxley to beat Adam Page. Moxley standing in the ring with the AEW World title, and all of a sudden we see Darby Allin running down to the ring. He cashes in, he beats Jon Moxley, and then Darby becomes the new AEW World Champion. There's also that possibility as well. And I mean, I might be on an island all by myself on that, but it's definitely a possibility. So I think a lot of shit's going to happen at All In. And to be honest with you, it's, All In usually 9 times out of 10 is AEW's biggest show of the year. It's their WrestleMania. They're going to have it at the Ranger Stadium. It's going to be probably a decent amount of people in the arena. So I'm looking forward to the show, man. But there's a lot of story going on in All In. And I also think that this will be the point where AEW finally, maybe just finally, hits the reset button and we get some new stuff going on with AEW because they need it. This might be something that they go into All In, and after All In, they hit the reset button. And what better way to do it? I mean, you can look at Monet and Toni Storm. Toni Storm can beat Mercedes Moné. It's going to shock the world. Absolutely shock the world. You got the Young Bucks against Ospreay and Swerve. Again, no matter how you look at that, it's going to be very telling, because if the Bucks lose, they lose their EVP status. Them losing the EVP status is going to change everything for the Young Bucks, because that's who they are. That's their character. Their entrance music, their Titantron, their theme, everything is surrounded by that EVP. Even their EVP trigger is their finisher move. Everything's wrapped around that EVP status. But then they lose that, and will change everything for the Young Bucks. But then on the other side of the coin, you look at Swerve and Ospreay, and if they lose, you're talking about two of the biggest stars in AEW's locker room on that show. And if they lose, they will not be able to challenge for the AEW World title for up to 1 year. That changes the narrative quite a bit if Ospreay and Swerve somehow do lose that match against the Young Bucks. You also have Kenny Omega versus Okada, which a lot of people, I think, are overlooking that match. This match right here between Okada and Omega could possibly be the match of the night. Now, there's a lot of people out there, there's some fans out there that have no idea the significance of this match or the history between Omega and Okada. These guys have wrestled 3 to 4 different times. G1 Climax, obviously a lot of their matches were over in New Japan, but their matches were incredible. A lot of 5-star matches. And the fact that we're getting this match again, this is something I'm pretty sure Tony Khan, ever since he signed Okada, this was something that he was probably salivating for quite some time. That he wanted to produce a Kenny Omega Okada match for AEW, and we're finally getting that. Title versus title. You got Continental title on the line as well as the international title. And then you also have the unified title on the line as well. So, and I want to talk about that as well. Number one, the match is going to be incredible. But the news I found out about this match is the winner, whether it's Okada or Omega, they were supposed to unify these championships into one championship. Well, what I found out is that the winner of this match between Okada and Omega will not only have one title or two, but from what I've heard is 3 different titles that these guys are going to be wearing, depending on who wins this match. To me, I think that's a huge L. And I told you guys before, and I'm going to say it again, Tony Khan likes to play back on the history of professional wrestling, especially from Mexico to New Japan or wrestling around the world. This shit here, with them holding 3 titles simultaneously, this is exactly what All Japan Pro Wrestling used to do with the Triple Crown belt. So it looks like Tony Khan was a huge fan of All Japan Pro Wrestling at one time. So to me, I don't think that's a great look, to be honest with you. Them walking around with 3 titles simultaneously, I think it's an L. My thing is why create the unified title if you guys are walking around with 3 belts? You're supposed to unify the titles into one. I just think that's kind of an L. But the match itself, I think it's going to be an incredible match. I mean, these guys, obviously they're up there in age a little bit. They're not, they're not wrestling like they did when they first wrestled against each other. So obviously things are going to be a little bit different. But I'm telling you right now, man, this might be that sleeper match where people are overlooking it. I think this might be the match of the night. I think Omega and Okada are going to give it everything they possibly have in this match to entertain the fans. And it should make for one hell of a match, one hell of a memory between these two guys. These guys were rivals in New Japan, 2 of the biggest stars in all of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and we're going to get that match at All In. So I'm looking forward to it, man, and everything's on the table. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a very good match, very telling match, and a very historic moment for AEW. Like I mentioned before, there's Adam Cole. Adam Cole will be defending his TNT title against Kyle Fletcher. I'm going to be honest, man. I will be giving you guys a preview predictions for all the PLEs pay-per-views this weekend. It most likely will happen tomorrow. But to be honest with you guys, man, for Adam Cole defending the TNT title, Adam Cole hasn't done shit with this belt. And to be honest with you, ever since Cole got injured, man, I think his entire wrestling persona, if you will, and what he's done in wrestling has changed a lot. It's gone downhill a lot for Adam Cole. He's not the same Adam Cole that he once was before he got injured. Could I see him dropping the belt to Kyle Fletcher? Yeah, and I think that's the route that I'm hoping that they're going. Kyle Fletcher right now is doing great shit. The guy's still very young in the game. And he's a workhorse, man. And to me, the guy's ready. He's ready to have championship gold. And I think it's time for Kyle Fletcher to actually have the TNT championship. They added to the Don Callis family. Right now, the Don Callis family currently doesn't hold any gold for that entire stable. So to bring Kyle Fletcher in, have him beat Adam Cole and become the new TNT champion, I'm all for it. Adam Cole needs to go back and reevaluate what he wants to do in his career and get back to what the Adam Cole that we all once knew of. And hopefully he does do that. But we'll see what happens. And the other thing too, man, is the Casino Gauntlet match. I mean, we all know the winner of that match will face the world champion or have the opportunity to face the world champion. But I'm expecting some returns. There's been rumors of speculation that Eddie Kingston might be ready to come back. It'd be great to see him come back. Maybe a debut, if you will, a new signing to AEW. The return of Darby Allin is also being speculated that he might be returned and be a part of this match. You got some names out there that are floating around, man, that people have been wanting to see. I mean, Eddie Kingston's definitely one of them. I wouldn't mind seeing Eddie Kingston being back in AEW, back in the fold of things. But there could be some returns, some debuts, if you will, in the Casino Gauntlet match that I'm definitely looking forward to be honest with you. I think it's something that AEW desperately needs. Even for the women's side of the Casino Gauntlet match, maybe we'll get a debut or a return, if you will, a part of that match as well. So, I think it's great. I really do. I think it's something that they can really capitalize on and bring these people back into the fold. I mean, hell, for all intents and purposes, maybe we can see Jack Perry somehow involved in the Casino Gauntlet match or maybe the main event. You know what I mean? I know he's been dealing with some injury and stuff like that, but maybe he's on his way to come back as well. So, and unfortunately with AEW, they kind of need all hands on deck because they just don't know how to build stars, man. They just don't. I mean, even the tag team matchup that's taking place at All In, you got the Patriarchy, you got, you also have Jet Speed with Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. I respect the fact that Tony Khan's pushing these guys, but after what I saw, what the Hurt Syndicate did to them not too long ago, last week, when they beat the shit out of both Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey, it just doesn't make me feel and seem as if, I'm really excited for, Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey to become AEW Tag Team Champion. I just don't see it. And right now, unfortunately, you kind of have to feed the hot hand. And right now, the hot hand is the Hurt Syndicate. I don't see them dropping the belts. I think that'd be a huge mistake right now for them to drop the belts. They have the hot hand right now. Feed the hot hand. They're immensely over. The fans love them. And right now, what AEW should be doing is contemplating building back up this tag team division for AEW, because right now it is the drizzling shits for AEW. And at one time, they probably had the best tag team division in the world. Right now, it's very bad. It's very bad. So I would focus on that as well. We'll see. Maybe we'll get the return of Adam Copeland as well. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that are probably going to take place this year at All In. Because, and also they're going pretty much head to head with WWE. I mean, WWE is having 2 events alone this weekend. I mean, after All In, literally, you have Saturday Night's Main Event being headlined by Goldberg and Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. Sunday, you have the All Women's Evolution 2 pay-per-view taking place on Sunday. So, WWE is trying to do whatever they can and be petty to pretty much stick it to AEW. And I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't think Saturday Night's Main Event's gonna be that bad, but I think people are overlooking All In. I really do. I think All In's going to be incredible. I think it's going to be a really good show from top to bottom. A lot of story into this event. It's going to be very telling to see what happens and how it plays out. For all intents and purposes, AEW's All In this year could be probably one of AEW's biggest, if not greatest, pay-per-views of all time if they do it correctly and do it right. And what I mean by doing it right is that we have Toni Storm beat Mercedes Moné. She retains the AEW Women's Championship. And finally, we get the end of the tenure of Jon Moxley and the Death Rider situation for AEW, because it's absolutely brutal. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember,